Welcome to the show today. Before we get started talking Jim Harbaugh contract situation, I'll take this opportunity to ask you guys, if you haven't yet, to subscribe. James, why do you always ask us to subscribe? Well, if you get more subscribers, YouTube starts showing your videos to more Michigan football fans, and they can subscribe. We got to grow in this business to keep it rocking and rolling because ad rates are plummeting. So help us out if you like the show, if you like what we do, if you want us to keep doing shows, please subscribe to the channel at 12,411 as filming this here on Thursday evening. So go ahead and hit that sub button. We've got the latest, mostly my opinion, on Jim Harbaugh's contract situation coming up right now. And as always, I'm your host, James Yoder. Hit me on the Twitter sphere at James Yoder. Let me know you watch the show. Let me know you are an MFer. I got to start the show by asking this question. And this is really what the show is about. At this point, Thursday, January 7th, 2021, 6 years in, do we want Jim Harbaugh back? And I asked that question with some humility because when he became Michigan's coach, I, probably like you, was more convinced than anything I ever have in my life that Michigan would be where Ohio State currently is, where Clemson is, where Alabama is. Could playoffs every year, every other year at worst. Maybe Ohio State, Michigan would go back and forth. But what happened in 2019, the rash decision to hire, Josh Gaddis, coming off the 2018 loss to Ohio State, making it an offensive thing instead of a defensive thing, which I kind of felt weird at the time, but I was excited about Gaddis. Didn't turn out to be what we thought he was, nevertheless. And then what this 2020 season turned into, the lack of leadership, where this program is in at 6 years in, I just can't really get behind it. But had Jim Harbaugh been the coach of Michigan with a contract a month ago, 2 months ago. By the way, they haven't played since Thanksgiving weekend, right? Michigan has not played a game since the Saturday after Thanksgiving against Penn State. So it's not like Jim Harbaugh hasn't had time to talk about his contract. But he's stringing us all along. He's stringing you along. He's stringing me along. He's stringing all players on the team along. Incoming recruits who are supposed to report to campus pretty soon. 2020 recruits who don't know if Michigan is going to still offer him a scholarship. And certainly stringing along his assistant coaches, 6 of the 9, I believe, or 9 or 10, who are still on staff, not counting down Brown, had their contracts expiring in 4 days. So the reason I ask this question is because if you look down to it, it started off hot. But let's just take a deep dive at the facts around Jim Harbaugh. He's 0-5 against Ohio State. And I almost got into a fist fight with the production team afterwards because I was trying to change that to 0-6. They are these, journalism students who are, journalism grads, big J's we call them. They're like, well, he didn't actually lose to Ohio State this year, but he would have. Should be 0-6. You guys are 0-5. Whatever. We know what it would have been, and frankly, we know what it's going to be next year, right? We know next year might be the only chance Michigan has to beat Ohio State in the next 5 years because of all the talent they have coming in, because they'll start a true freshman or a first-year freshman quarterback. Other than that, they're going to be stacked once they get the quarterback situation figured out for another 4 or 5 years with the recruiting classes they've got coming in. They're going to have 4 quarterbacks on their roster next year, ranked top 100 coming out of high school. 3 of them, that'd be 2022. 3 of them be 5 stars in 2022, all sophomores or younger, because they got the number 1 prospect in 2022 already committed. Jim Harbaugh's 1-4 in bowl games. We all couldn't just wait. After 7 years of Brady Hoke and Rich Rod, Harbaugh comes in. It didn't work out against Ohio State that year. Last second, crazy loss to Michigan State, but they just beat down Florida, the SEC East champion, 41-9 in the bowl game. And you're like, this is the coach we want. Followed up with that 8-0, 9-0 start in 2016, and you and I thought they were rolling. And there was that mirage of a 10-game winning streak in 2019 before it all changed and fell apart against Ohio State. Going to talk more about these crazy stats about Jim Harbaugh, the ones that just don't line up to a contract extension to me. But I'll make sure you guys follow me on Twitter at James Yoder. Tell me you're an MFer. It's an MFR, Michigan Football Report. As a viewer of the show, I nominate you and you accept it automatically to be an MFer. But don't DM me, okay? I can't deal with the Twitter DMs anymore. I'm getting too many. Every day it's 40 people asking me about Harbaugh. And I'd actually rather just put my cell phone number on the show and get text messages than try and deal with Twitter's antiquated messaging system. So if you want me to put my cell phone number in the show, just let me know down in the comment section. I might do it if enough of you request it, but no more Twitter DMs. Just tweet at me, right? I always check that, the DMs, like twice a month. But I'll ask you guys this question. Do you want Jim Harbaugh back? Get down in the comments. Get your votes in. I will pin this comment to the bottom of the video. You might get hit with a YouTube ad break in here. So go down. Type Y or N to the pinned comment while this YouTube ad break plays. Digging more into this question 1 of 3 on today's show. And by the way, I'm not in the podcast studio anymore. I'm in the real studio, but they told me if there's no decision, if there's no real news on Harbaugh one way or another, no more graphics, James, are allowed. So the graphics team is on strike because of Harbaugh. But he's 3-3 against Michigan State. This is a guy who beat MVP Cam Newton, MVP Aaron Rodgers on the road in the NFL playoffs, who I believe beat Drew Brees in the NFL playoffs. Yet you're 3-3 against Michigan State? Are you kidding me? That's out of control. But what about the other teams in the Big Ten? 2-3 against Wisconsin, including 2 straight blowout losses. And if you watch Wisconsin this year, after the Michigan game, that was a really crappy team. They had no business breaking all kinds of Big Ten records against Michigan for most points scored in a half, biggest blowout win, most points. All these records fell. These 140 years of Michigan football, all the records of the Big House went out the window, and really in the past 13 years, but quite a few of them just this year alone. 0-3 at home, the first time in Michigan football history, no wins at Michigan Stadium. What about Penn State, James? We're beating Penn State? 3-3 against Penn State, okay? You lost in 2019, you lost in 2020 again. You started off 2-1 against them, but Michigan's lost 3 out of the last 4 against Penn State. Got destroyed in 2017. Hollered back at them with destruction of our own. Michigan crushed Penn State in 2018. Last year in 2019, down 21-0 at one point. Michigan came roaring back, Granny Bell, and then a lifeless performance here in 2020 against an 0-5 Penn State team. Another record, Michigan never lost to an 0-5 team in the history of the program, 0-5 or worse. And they did that again this year. So if you think about it, 0-5 versus Ohio State, 1-4 bowl games, including 4 straight losses, 3-3 against Michigan State, 2-3 against Wisconsin, 3-3 against Penn State, but 3 out of the last 4. Where is this trending? Okay, where is this trending? It's not going to change. And if you look at the recruiting rankings, I get this is a top 12, a top 11 class, whatever it was, top 13. You got, a quarterback, a running back, a wide receiver, and all that stuff. But if you stack man for man, position for position, Michigan wouldn't have a player, at least in my opinion, according to the talent rankings of these blog boys who spend their lives recruiting, and ranking 17-year-old high school players, you wouldn't have a player on Michigan's entire roster that would start for Ohio State next year. Let's say that out loud. The gap, Ohio State won the national title a week and a half after Jim Harbaugh got the job in Michigan, right? And so they went into that first season as defending national champions. And even though Jim Harbaugh took over a 5-7 program in 2014, turned him into a 10-3 program in 2015, somehow he came in against Ohio State team that won the national title against a 5-7 Michigan program. That's where we were. Somehow the gap 6 years later is bigger. How is that possible? I don't know. But I just think it proves to me that he is not the man for the job. And I'll ask you guys one more time to subscribe to the channel. We've got 17 people just since we've been on here to subscribe, so I appreciate that. So make sure you subscribe. We're coming up on 12,500 subscribers, 13,000 right around the corner. I think we actually just passed Steve Deese in the Michigan podcast for subs, so thank you guys for that. Number 2, no really reason to talk about this other than it involves a lot of ex-Michigan coaches. Jedd Fisch, week and a half ago, hired as the coach of Arizona, the Arizona Wildcats, former Rich Rod team, right? I think they would have probably maybe learned their lesson with former Michigan coaches after Rich Rod happened. But Fisch did a UCLA stint, did a stint with the Rams, then went over to the Patriots for a year as their quarterbacks coach. The reason I bring this up is because Michigan still has not, as I told you yesterday, they still haven't announced Don Brown is no longer the defensive coordinator, right? They have not. This is a public university. Records are public. Yet they haven't announced that. Don Brown is still on Michigan's website right now as a defensive coordinator, yet he has another job somewhere else. The incompetence is baffling, okay? It's baffling. And so the reason I even point this out more interesting is this situation is embarrassing around Harbaugh is because you got Jedd Fisch hiring Don Brown after Michigan fired him, but not really because they won't announce it because they actually won't talk to anybody. But also, Jedd Fisch, in under 2 weeks, has put together an entire coaching staff. Yet, 33 plus 7, 40, carry the one. It's in 40 days since Michigan's played a football game. Yet, Jim Harbaugh hasn't indicated whether he's returning to coach. He hasn't indicated to any of the 6 assistants that have the contracts expiring in 4 days, whether they're coming back to Michigan yet, and all the defensive coordinator candidates are potentially, going somewhere else. Don Brown obviously went to Arizona. He's not a candidate, but Derek Mason, Michigan's going to get him, right? Former Vanderbilt coach with Harbaugh at Stanford. Nope, he just signed a contract to be Auburn's next assistant coach, next defensive coordinator. But before I get my last thought about the transfer portal, how it's affected Michigan, I'll ask you guys this question. Predict the score of this game. I think it's one of the more intriguing national title games, maybe one of the better ones we've had in a long time, because I think always going to the national title game, you get one of the teams is just so much more favored or so much more dominant, and that might be Alabama this year. But these teams are very even when it comes to overall talent, and the performance Ohio State put on against Clemson was much more impressive than what Alabama did against Notre Dame. So I'm interested in this one. Want to hear you guys' score prediction. I haven't figured it out for myself yet. Kind of lean Ohio State, although I don't want them to win. But go down in the comments, predict the score. Ohio State, Alabama, national title game down in Miami coming up here on Monday night. And if you think you know better than the sports books out there, if you think you know better than your average fan, you can go to BetUS, our presenting sponsor of today's show, chatsports.com/GoBlue. Use that promo code GoBlue to bet on some sports. If you hate the Buckeyes and you want them to lose, no better thing to do than just take financial profit from their demise. So go to BetUS, chatsports.com/GoBlue. Use promo code GoBlue, 125% deposit bonus when you use that promo code. Bet against Ohio State. Alabama, hopefully they'll beat them by 30 points, and you can be happy. If you're an Ohio State fan watching, I'm just kidding. Keep following me on Twitter. Go Buckeyes. Kind of, no, I'm just kidding. Go Crimson Tide with this one. Next one, our last story for today, is Michigan's got some serious holes, on defense especially. Cornerback, paper thin. Freshmen that were supposed to make an impact didn't even see the field. The sophomores and redshirt sophomores that were supposed to be starters didn't cut it. Not cut out for the job. And maybe they'll get better under a new defensive coordinator. I don't know. Defensive line, decimated by transfers over the last couple of years, by guys who didn't work out. Mozzie Smith's supposed to be a top 100 recruit. He's barely seen the field. There's rumors of Chris Hinton maybe thinking about transferring. I don't know if that's going to happen, just rumors. But the quick fixes at defensive tackle and cornerback, not going to happen because they're disappearing, because these players want to be in school for the spring. They're leaving for a reason, right? They don't like the coach, they don't like the teammates, they're homesick, they want to play more, or they graduated and they want to try, get a graduate degree somewhere else, maybe try a different school. Sometimes guys want to go up, go from Western Michigan to Michigan. Sometimes guys want to go down. They want to go from Michigan to Illinois to get a guaranteed spot. Whatever it is, Michigan isn't even contacting players in the portal in the gaps that they need. In this new era of college football, they really started 2 years ago with Shea Patterson, continue with Justin Fields, and now with the NCAA likely in the next couple months going to sign a new rule that allows for a one-time transfer with no sitting out. You're in a free agency era. You need to be in that transfer portal, reaching out to the contact information, getting guys to Zoom you, potentially visit campus on their own dime right now, but none of that is happening right now. So any quick fixes Michigan could have for next season that aren't true freshmen, absolutely gone for what Jim Harbaugh has done, just holding this entire program hostage. I don't want to seem like an angry guy on the internet here, but what else can we say on this one? So before we go, one more time, follow me on Twitter at James Yoder. I'm going to keep doing these podcast-style videos, just talking to you, because until Michigan makes a decision, Jim Harbaugh makes a decision one way or another, I'm not sure what else and what point there is to speculate on anything else. Thanks so much for watching today's show. I'm just ranting and raving here, so if you like the style, you want to watch more, make sure you hit this button to subscribe to the channel. If you missed yesterday's video, I got it for you right here, and I'll slap another video for you right there. If you got nothing better to do here on a Thursday. Go Blue.